Number 13. Unlucky
13.
number 13.
Oh, we just spoke of this guy. And this was actually the last album from this supergroup. Cream, Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yep, and that's exactly what it was. One side is live with I'm So Glad and Politician. Side 2, 4 new tracks. 4 new songs. We got Sitting on Top... No, wait a minute. Sitting on Top of the World, I think, was on Wheels of Fire. I think we got 3 new studio tracks on here. Badge, which is very well known. Doing that Scrapyard thing and What a Bring Down. Great tracks. It's a very short album, but it was basically it was the goodbye, aptly titled from Cream.
It was their goodbye to the fans and their goodbye to the label.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true. Yeah, they were their career was short and kind of volatile.
But they, again, another band that was very hugely influential.
Oh, yeah.
Matter of fact, I have a box set. It's called The History of Heavy Metal, and the first track on the box set is a Cream song.
Is it Sunshine? Sunshine of Your Love?
I don't remember now. I have to look,
Room?
but yeah,
Oh,
White Room. I think it's White Room. Yeah.
Yeah, they were heavy. They were they were the epitome of a proto metal band. So heavy, so loud, very blues based, but it turned into those heavy blues riffs, courtesy of Eric Clapton.
Yep.
And if you give them, they get forgotten about a lot, I think, because it was so quick. Even though they have some huge hits, but yeah, Cream was essential.
Yeah,
really.
You know who else was a big fan? Was Ole Roth. Was a huge fan of Cream.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
And if I want to listen to Eric Clapton music, I want to hear
Cream.
stuff from there.
Yep.
Yeah, stuff from that, and shortly after that, which we'll talk about in
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah, I have a few of those Eric Clapton solo albums, but I can't remember the last time I pulled them out.
And I can take his early stuff. Once he starts getting further into the later 70s and early 80s, I'm just like, I can't take it anymore. I just don't like it. All right, debut album from basically another supergroup here that made their mark more with their vocals than anything else.
Yep.
Great songwriting, too. Got the debut for Crosby, Stills, and Nash, a.k.a. David Crosby of the Byrds, Stephen Stills of Manassas and Buffalo Springfield, and Graham Nash from the Hollies. This album was huge. They also played the Woodstock Festival. It was like one of their first couple performances, I think, or like first time they ever played live was Woodstock, maybe, or the second time, something like that.
Can you imagine?
Well, they say it on stage too. He's like, "This is like the second time we played live. We're scared shitless."
And they did a great job.
Oh, they did. It was awesome.
Their performance is one of the classic performances from that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I prefer the version at Woodstock of Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, which is on here. It's the opening track and written for Judy Collins, because Stephen Stills and her were a thing for a while. The other tracks, I mean, this whole album, it's like a greatest hits album. Marrakesh Express is on here. Guinevere is on here, one of my personal favorites. Wooden Ships is on here, another favorite. Helplessly Hoping, Long Time Gone. It's just one of those albums where it's like a greatest hits, and it was their very first album. Every song on here is bona fide classic.
Pretty much your second one did the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, there's sometimes nothing else will satisfy. And when I do listen to them, I listen to them over and over and over.
So their second album was not called Crosby, Stills, and Nash, right? It was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, right?
Oh, the second album was with Neil Young.
Yep.
Yeah, it was Deja Vu.
Yep.
Yeah. Which that gets confusing, but whatever.
That was short-lived. The Young thing.
Yeah, and I mean, he came back again later, too, though.
Yeah.
He was in and out. All right, okay. Yeah, this one, to me, this is impressive as hell. This was my dad's favorite band growing up. Another one that he turned me on to, Creedence Clearwater Revival. 3 albums in 1969 alone. And Creedence is another band that every album is like a greatest hits album.
He was just a great songwriter. That's all there is to it.
Still is. Bayou Country was the first of the 3. And what we got Born on the Bayou, we got Good Golly Miss Molly, Penthouse Pauper, Proud Mary, which is probably their first gold single. Willie and the Poor Boys, huge one. We got Down on the Corner, come on, everybody knows that.
Yep. Side 2, track 1, one of the most well-known songs ever.
Yeah, Fortunate Son.
Yep.
Midnight Specials on here. Awesome stuff. I mean, yeah, people probably say they're sick of them from classic rock radio, but if you just put yourself back in this time, and Vietnam's going on, and this is like the soundtrack of that stuff.
Bad Moon Rising.
Bad Moon Rising, Green River, the track. Hang on.
I saw Crosby,
Wrote
Stills.
a Song for Everyone is the one I always.
Excuse me. I saw. What did I see? Creedence Clearwater Revisited. That's what I was trying to think
Oh
of.
yeah.
And it's just the bass player and drummer, right?
Yeah,
Whose
with a
names-
couple other guys
But-
playing classic Creedence.
Man, I really enjoyed it. You know, it was. I understand people. That's just a tribute band, but man, it was good to hear those songs
Yeah.
live again. It was just. I really enjoyed it. So.
Another great one on here was Lodi.
And
I mean, these three albums are. If you never have heard Creedence and you got these three, and if you don't like them, forget it.
If you never heard these three albums, songs off these three albums, you don't have a radio.
Yeah, you didn't.
Or you
Or
grew
you're
up listening to
deaf.
iTunes or something, or
You're deaf.
yeah.
All right, another twofer for number. We're in our top 10. Another twofer.
Number 10.
I'll do that one.
And I'll do this one.
Steppenwolf.
Now these albums I remember listening to this one when I was a kid, and I thought it was at the time heavy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definite proto band, for sure. I mean, everyone's heard "Born to Be Wild." It's like one of the greatest anthems of all time.
Yeah, that one and Magic Carpet Ride and
Yeah.
and the Pusher and
So this was album number 3, At Your Birthday Party. We've got a die cut cover here showing a picture of the band.
Yeah.
The original cover actually was all black and white, and it's got images of like Mickey Mouse all over it, and it's like they're in some kind of battle or something. It's very weird.
this cover I always thought was cool.
Oh, there it is. It's on the back. Oh, and that one's Monster. But what do we have for tracks on this one? This one has my favorite all-time Steppenwolf track, which is Jupiter's Child. Probably the biggest cut on here. Really? No, there's not really.
No,
hits.
these albums are pretty deep tracks.
Yeah.
These aren't hit albums. Although this one does have was it Power Play? Gosh, I can't. It's funny. The light's over here, so it's so dark back where
They're
we're
not
at.
listed on the back.
No,
I mean the title track "Monsters" on here, which I believe is
Yeah.
it's like a 3-part.
there's Monster. That's the only song that has lyrics. But I'm pretty sure that the song Power Play is on here too.
We got Monster, we got Suicide, America, Draft Resistor, Power Play.
Yeah, Power Play.
Move Over, which I believe that's the same as the Janis Joplin Move Over. We've got the song called Fag.
But Fag back then wasn't that. It was a cigarette.
I don't know what that song's about. I'm gonna take a leap and say that it is about.
Homosexuality.
I think. I'm not sure though. You never quite knew back then. Just you couldn't really tell by the title necessarily what they were talking about.
Anyhow.
But two great deep cut Steppenwolf albums for sure. If you dig them, then you're gonna love these two.
Yeah. I don't know about people call these guys biker rocks, but you know.
Only because of Born to Be Wild, and it was in. I mean, yeah, sure it is, maybe, but
They actually got their start, as I recall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in doing a movie soundtrack.
yeah, you were telling me
I
that.
can't remember
the
the
other
name of
day.
the soundtrack.
The
now.
name of the soundtrack was Candy.
Candy. That's it. Yep, Candy.
And I think it was the first time they appeared on album.
Yep, I believe so.
All right, we are on number 9.
Number 9.
Another guitar hero, and made even more so by the fact that he died within 2 years of this album coming out. The debut from the Allman Brothers, self-titled.
Why were those Southern rock bands so glutton for punishment, man? All of them.
I don't think the South is an easy place to grow up, man.
I guess.
I really don't.
But I mean, they all drank themselves to death. And
yeah.
Drugs and.
And Dwayne got killed on his motorcycle real quick. I mean, he was still in his 20s.
Yeah.
But he already was a massive session player. He played with Aretha Franklin. He played with all these big names, and you can hear his guitar all over the place. This one, it's an awesome album. I mean, if you throw this on and you get through it and you're not impressed, I don't know what's wrong. But this stuff is just classic. It's got the classic whipping post on it.
I mean, it's no Pink.
No, it's no Pink.
But, you know.
But why do you keep throwing me off like that?
What songs? You're
Great
doing
songs. Don't Want You No More. Not My Cross to Bear. Black Hearted Woman. Trouble No More. No trouble from you anymore.
Classic song.
Oh man, fucking awesome. Every Hungry Woman. Dreams, which Molly Hatchet. did their own version of later on.
And it was huge for them.
Yeah, and Whipping Post,
Which
one
is
of my all-time favorites.
Which was immortalized on the live album.
Yeah. Yeah, Allman Brothers, man. I mean, especially those first couple albums.
In my opinion, if you've never heard the Allman Brothers, and you want to check them out, get the live album.
Yeah, Live at the Fillmore East. It's got like a 20-minute version of Whipping Post.
It is one of these seminal live albums.
Yeah, and you want to talk about a jam band? I mean, that's what all these guys like Government Mule and all those types of modern bands are trying to emulate. Those guys could jam like nobody else.
Yep.
Nobody.
Agreed.
And we are on number 8. Great album. Great album.
Da, 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 da.
Sophomore album from Jethro Tull.
Stand out. He was going to bring his copy because he's got the pop-up copy, and he's like, and I was like, oh, no, I don't. But he's like, don't worry about it. We'll just show the one. And then I pulled mine out, and sure enough,
Gateful has a really cool pop-up.
So it's got the little, let's see if I get this thing here. You ready?
Meet the band!
Ooh, there they are.
Ooh, nobody does that. When's the last time you saw a pop-up album cover?
Last year, Striper.
Seriously?
Yep, they reissued 3 albums with pop-ups in them.
No comment. Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull.
And great tracks on here, man. Fat Man's on here, which is a great cut.
Yep.
A New Day Yesterday, love it. Tony Iommi did a brief stint with Tull, 68, 69-ish.
Right before Sabbath.
Never played on an album. He did like a guitar, not lip syncing, but guitar syncing on the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus, which never got released until years later. But he was with Tull for a little while. He said it really taught him how to be a leader and to crack a whip, because I guess Ian Anderson ruled with an iron fist. I mean, it's like they were so professional by what Tony's standards were at the time. That's what helped him get Sabbath up to par professionally.
And this is another one of those bands that's forgotten about when you talk about the big bands of the 70s and the bands that were selling out stadiums. You think of all these different bands, but they were one.
Yep.
They were huge back in the 70s. I don't know that they were.
And one of my favorite.
I don't know that they were actually huge but I mean, they were still climbing here.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were huge in the 70s, and now they're kind of not even thought about. Same thing with.
But they're still kicking though.
Yeah.
I mean, Ian Anderson has kept Jethro Tull going. He's still out there performing. He's still in really good health. Still just as much of an ass kicker as he ever was. Jethro Tull were another one though. They started out very blues based, and they just got more progressive as time went on. And nobody writes acoustic tracks that are just drenched in melody like Ian Anderson does. Nobody.
Yep.
And there's so much of that on here.
And here's my Ian Gillan. Here's my Ian Anderson Jethro Tull story. I don't know why I said Ian Gillan because we talked about it earlier.
They're both named Ian.
Yeah. Anyhow, I was so into this band when I was in middle school. I'm literally a kid in middle school, not even a teenager yet. That when I joined the band and they had, they kind of had everybody in the band at one point, and you pick your instrument. I was like, oh, I'm playing flute. So I did. I played. So I started learning to play flute in middle school, but I was so teased for it because I was
too bad.
That was the only guy who was playing flute.
Because who made flute cooler than this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever hear any, like I've got some Jethro Tull bootlegs where he does extended flute solos, and he was manic when he would get moving on that. Nuts, completely nuts, and that impressed the hell out of me.
I so wish I would have not. I would have learned it.
Never too late.
Yeah.
It's not like you lost your
lip
time or something. Yeah, that's true. You got a full plate.
Yep.
All right, where are we at? We are at number 7. Oh yes, one of my favorites.
Yeah, we always. I think almost every one of these videos we've ever filmed has always been at TROG's place.
We've never done one together here because I
time
haven't been here since we started doing them.
Yeah.
Finally got here 6 years later.
Yeah. So yeah, we're at
all right.
Casa de nolifetilmetal. So
number 7, debut album from Free.
I Feel Free,
featuring Paul Rogers and Simon. Paul Rogers on vocals, Simon Kirke on drums, who later went on to form Bad Company. Another guitar hero, Paul Kossoff on guitar.
Which is a tragic story too.
A bass hero, Andy Fraser, was like still a teenager when they recorded these albums, and that mofo can make a bass sing like nobody I've ever heard. Really, really cool. Tons of Sobs these guys started out as just pure blues and really kept most of that throughout most of their catalog. But these first 3 or 4 albums were really just drenched in blues. The tracks on this first one, I know one of my favorite cuts, they cut it up into 2 parts. It's called Over the Green Hills.
Yep, part 1 and 2.
It's an acoustic intro and outro. Later on they did a cut where they put it together as a whole song. It's a great song. Just acoustic and vocals. My very favorite song on this is Moonshine. Very heavy. It's full of hits though too. We've got Worry, Walk in My Shadow, Wild Indian Woman, Going Down Slow. All great cuts.
Yep.
I'm a Mover's a big cut. Even Iron Maiden covered I'm a Mover on one of their B-sides. The Hunter, which Led Zeppelin kind of ripped off a little bit for their debut album. Even Glenn Danzig ripped it off almost verbatim and didn't even really credit them with the song. Ain't no use to run, ain't no use to hide. I got you in the sights of my love gun. So Kiss ripped them off too. And yeah, that's it. Sweet Tooth.
Only been 11 chords ever written. Everybody else has been ripping them off ever since.
Free, Tons of Sobs, debut from just a powerhouse band. Love these guys. Love them.
Yep, good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, we lost Paul Kossoff back in...
Oh, he died in 76?
Yeah, it was a real long time
And
ago.
Andy Fraser just passed away in 2015.
Some sad stories, man.
Yes, very sad stories. Won't get into them now.
So what are we into, number 5?
No, I think we're just number 6.
Number
I think
6.
That was, yeah, we're number 6, and it's another twofer. We had some hard-working bands in '69.
Oh, I love these 2 albums.
Yeah. Grand Funk
Grand
Railroad.
Funk.
First 2 albums.
Another band out there still working hard.
And Grand Funk was heavy, and they were loud, and definite roots of metal right here.
Yep, another one of those bands that are forgotten about. They don't get mentioned about, but they had so many hits. It was ridiculous how many hits they have.
Yep.
I mean, I've been collecting singles from them. There's so many singles.
When they were, that was that era. That was the era where they were pushing singles like crazy.
And they had a lot of them. But these 2 albums didn't necessarily have a whole lot of big, huge hits because these things were jams.
Yeah, the
a lot
big
of long songs.
The big tracks of this one, for me, the debut was, it opened up with Are You Ready, which was a live mainstay for them for years. Time Machine, the instrumental TNUC, which was reversed, and I'll let you figure out what it spells going backwards. Heartbreaker's a great one on here. Love that one. Love Heartbreaker. Very soulful jam from Grand Funk. And then this one.
This was like I said, this was a jam. There's a lot of long songs here. Matter of fact, side 2 only has 3 songs on it.
My favorite cut on here, I believe, it is on. Yeah, Inside Looking Out, which has been covered by a couple of different people. Animals covered it. No. It is an Animals track. Grand Funk covered it.
Yes.
And later on, Vinyl covered it in the Obsessed. Great version. Great version.
Also has a song on here called Paranoid.
Yep. What were the other tracks on there? That's not the only tracks that are on there.
Got This Thing on the Move. Please Don't Worry. Hi, Flute and Woman.
Winter in My Soul is pretty cool too.
Mr. Limousine Driver and In Need.
Yep.
I've always loved the cover too. I know it's simple, but
it's classic. It's just an iconic cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, definite heavies.
One of the great power trios
of all time.
There was some great power trios in the '60s. It's so hard to believe that when we did put this list together, I'm like, there's no Jimi Hendrix in this list.
No, he didn't have an album in '69.
Nope.
He was at the Woodstock Festival though.
Yeah, but he didn't have an album out. He had '67, '68, and then skipped to '70.
Yep. And then died. Okay, wait a minute.
Isn't he still putting music out?
Yeah, he is actually. Okay, we're at number 5.
Top 5.
Yep, top 5, and this one we had to put in the top 5. I've got 4 different covers for this one.
I've got 2. I don't have all of them. I've got this one.
We got the very original. It's self-titled, Blind Faith.
That one. That was the German one, which is that one.
This one, and then we got this Polydor one, which I believe is from. This is a German one too.
This is actually the censored cover.
West German. Yeah, censored cover. That was the original back cover.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, and of course this cover didn't go over so well. Not only was it a teenage girl topless, but she's holding an airplane that looks suspiciously like a dildo.
Yeah.
It's art. it's a couple of steps away from the Virgin Killer album by the Scorpions. She's a bit older, but
yeah,
still,
Virgin Killer's a lot worse than that. Yeah. But yeah,
I see the art in it, and I appreciate the art in it. But I get it. I get why it caused such a uproar. It's a fantastic album by. It was a one and done supergroup. We have 2/3 of Cream here. We've got Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker.
Yep.
And Steve Winwood from Traffic, and Rich Gretsch, which I can't remember where Rich came from, but he was the bass player in this 4-piece. The whole album is classic. The hits: Can't Find My Way Home, The Presence of the Lord.
Presence of the Lord was a huge song, yeah.
Sea of Joys. Wait a minute. Well, All Right. This Buddy Holly cover. Had to Cry Today is a great riff-centered track.
Presence of the Lord has been covered by a bunch of different bands. Didn't Rez cover Presence of the Lord?
Yep, they did. They did a really
They did a
cool
great
version.
cover, yeah. Rez Records. They were just Rez then.
Sea of Joy and Do What You Like on the B-side, both lengthy tracks. Do What You Like is a lengthy jam. Lots of outtakes have come from this album, from later box sets and stuff like that, but it's such a classic. It's just so good, all on its own.
Yep, I
Blind
agree.
Faith.
Yeah, it's one of those albums that, another one of those ones you can just kick back and listen to and just
it's great.
enjoy. It is, again, a lot of this stuff is just like the Grand Funk, it's just a jam.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't discover Blind Faith until 20 years after it came out. And then,
Well, yeah, I mean, with 69, that was...
I discovered it in '89. Like, I'd heard "Can't Find My Way Home," and but I didn't really get into the album itself until '89. Great stuff.
Number 4.
Number 4. Yes.
No, it's not Yes.
No,
we
it's
already
not
showed
Yes, but it is. I put everything in there. It is a band that I'm currently binging on, and I have been for the last several weeks. We got 2 albums from these guys. I believe this one was first, was Ummagumma. Some people call it Ummagumma. I prefer Ummagumma. I got 2 different copies. The original Ummagumma, which is basically half live, and the other half is solo tracks that each member contributed to form the album as a whole. What's cool about this is it's got David Gilmour playing a couple of the Syd Barrett tracks, notably Astronomy Domine, Careful with That Axe, Eugene. That's it, just those 2, and all the other solo bits were just contributed from each member. The best of which, in my estimation, is the Roger Waters' Several Species of Small Furry Animals Gathered Together in a Cave and Grooving with a Pick. Yes,
Yep.
Awesome. He did a whole album that was very similar to it with a guy named Ron Greason called The Body. Very similar type stuff, this phonetic organization stuff. I've got the original cover that had to be changed because there's a copy of the Gigi soundtrack down here. They didn't get permission to have it featured, so all other versions come with a white version of that, which could have been mistaken for the Beatles' White Album, I guess. But anyway,
None more white.
and then we've got
the soundtrack, More.
the movie More.
And this it's basically the same, but this is an original pressing, and this is a repressing.
Yep. Great cuts on here. My favorite is the Nile song.
Yep.
It's heavy.
It's very heavy.
It's got a great riff.
And Voivod covered it.
Yes, they did, and they did a great version of it too.
But yeah, this is definitely not my favorite Pink Floyd album. I actually prefer Ummagumma
Yep.
to, or Ummagumma, I don't know. How do you pronounce it? Tell us.
Yeah.
How would you do that in writing?
Well, there's two M's, so that usually denotes that the vowel is soft instead of, or is soft instead of long. So instead of oo. So that's why I call it Ummagumma. Just a little English lesson. He's such a nerd.
Pink Floyd.
Yep. Where are we? That was number 4?
They believe so.
We're at number 3. Oh, they're getting hot now. Number 3.
And there's just no cover that's more iconic than this cover right now.
No, probably not. We got the debut from King Crimson, In the Court of the Crimson King. And I don't know what you can say about this album other than it's just bona fide classic. Every song on here is awesome. It's got the seminal 21st Century Schizoid Man. Greg Lake is on here providing vocals. There was nothing like this when it came out. Nothing. And if you're into King Crimson at all, you know they're a pretty intense band.
And that's one song that's been covered by everybody. 21st
Yeah,
Century Schizoid Man.
But never matched.
No.
Never.
Saxon did it.
Yes, they did. And Ozzy did it on his Undercover album. or it's on the box set. One of those two.
Yeah, there's so many covers of that song. It's ridiculous.
They could never match this version. They just couldn't. King Crimson was not just your 4-piece rock and roll band. They had, they had horn players and they had an organist, and
to me they were one of the defining bands of prog.
Oh yeah, definitely the beginnings of all prog, all things prog.
And their guitar player is definitely eclectic. Is that the word I'm looking for? Eccentric. There you go.
Yeah, Robert Fripp, but he's kind of a joker too, because lately he's been.
That was my grandson.
He saw the picture and he went, what the hell's that? Yeah, eccentric. But he's kind of funny too, because he posts videos now with his wife Toya, and they do like stuff like Paranoid by Sabbath, or just these more modern tracks, and it's just him playing guitar and her singing it, and it's funny. So he's really an interesting character, Robert Fripp for sure.
Yep.
But this is a great album, one of the best of '69, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's one of their defining albums for sure.
Yep. Pick it up if you haven't. It's worth hearing. So that was number 3. Now we got number 2. Oh boy. Could have been number 1, but we both agreed on number 1.
Number 1, yeah, there's no doubt about it.
But I felt this really had to be up there, because this is. Well, nobody can deny the influence of this band. So
I said there is no other iconic album as much as that one, but this is another one.
Yeah, this one is too. I mean, it's just a very simple photo of them walking across the street.
But it's been copied so many times.
Yes, and this was the last Beatles album, even though Let It Be came out the year later. It was recorded prior to this. Abbey Road. I knew the hits that were on it. Come Together, and. What was the other big hit on here? Oh Darling was also on here. But it wasn't an album that I got into the full album until years later. I had a couple of Beatles hits albums, and I got into the best of and the greatest hits and all that. But then a few years later, when this came out on CD and Sgt. Pepper, a buddy of mine, Gary Wilson, made me a copy with Pepper on one side and this on the other, and I used to listen to it over and over while I'm sorting mail at the post office, and I just got deeply into both albums in a big way, not just hit-wise. And this album is very solid from front to back. There's not a song on it I don't like. It runs very concurrently, a lot of the tracks, and they really flow together really well. Not unlike Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. This one has a similar flow. Not as deep of a concept, but there are several songs that are like 4 songs that make up one song. And
I heard they might have been doing a little bit of drugs at that time.
I don't know. I don't know much about drugs.
No, yeah.
I take drugs when I have a flu.
Maybe they were taking that nighttime stuff. It makes you kind of drowsy.
Like NyQuil? Yeah, maybe if you drink enough of it, it makes you feel kind of funny. Beatles, Abbey Road, 1969, their final album, really. Technically.
Yep.
I love it. Number 2, 1969. And that brings us to number 1. And we both said unreservedly that this was the number 1 we felt should be. We've got the debut from Led Zeppelin.
And Zeppelin 2.
And we couldn't really split them up because it just kind of felt like, which is better than the other? I don't know. Let's just do them together. This is the roots, the very beginnings. The very beginnings of metal.
This is the first wave of British heavy metal.
Yep.
I mean, just look at bands like UFO, who were part of that movement. Actually, that first, and they were like, everybody was trying to compete with Zeppelin. Everybody wanted to be that heavy, that rockin' band like Zeppelin, with screaming vocals and the stacks of speakers that were just.
Yep.
Pummeling you in the audience.
I mean, again, talking about iconic looking covers, does it get much more iconic than that? How simple is that cover? I mean, it's basically a black and white version of the Hindenburg disaster, and I don't know. It's one of my favorite covers, just because of how simple it is.
Yep. This one's got actually has the blimp on it too. It's just not as obvious. It's wrapped around the back.
Yeah.
But it's the same.
Do we really even have to read the tracks on here? I mean.
Yep.
This is the beginnings of some.
You have 2 different versions of that one?
Yeah. This is Scott's. This is the more common version, And I've got one that's got a bit of a different, it's a darker orange, and the back is more of a brownish orange.
Yeah, almost like a sepia tone. Yeah.
Yeah. Then this one is more orange, straight up.
And there you go. There's the iconic centerfold on this one.
Yes.
And then, of course, this album starts off with what? I Want a Whole Lot of
Love.
Love.
A Whole Lot of Love. It's a huge hit.
Come on,
hit.
I mean...
I remember when I first discovered it, I was just like, I listened to that thing constantly.
And what song was that heavy in 1969?
Yeah.
Or just that intense and
yeah, maybe...
bombastic is probably the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, Hendrix, If 6 Was 9 comes to mind. It's very similar to it. That kind of heaviness, but that was out in what, 68?
Yep.
On Axis. That was a heavy album too. More commercial for Hendrix, but yeah, so that's number 1, Led Zeppelin, top 30 of 1969.
Absolutely. So we're going to, we actually filmed a little piece before this that we were going to start it off with, but we decided to stick it on the end instead, so we're going to have a bonus video for you, which is showing some other stuff and just talking about some of the happenings going on in 69.
Yeah, a bunch of mentions that we didn't have physical copies of, a bunch of honorable mentions that didn't make the top 30, and just, yeah, like you said, some historic stuff that was going on in 69. It was a big year for music, but it was also a big year. There was a lot going on in the world.
Yeah. But hey, before we do go, it's been almost 2.5 years since TROG and I have done videos together because of the whole COVID lockdown and stuff like that. So I just wanted to give TROG a chance to show you what he's been up to. He's got a new album out, so I thought I'd have him show it to you guys in case you're interested in it.
I just wanted to pimp it a little bit. Since the last time we spoke, I met a guy named Tom Blackwood. He's got a studio in Phoenix called Arachnadisc. He also has a band called Life Size Monsters. Him and I have been teaming up to do some things together, and this is my first album in several years. It's my first novelty album. We did it together. Proctor Pimento, A Fistful of Olives. Proctor Pimento is an alter ego of mine, and Tom is my sidekick, Whippy Dix Pickle. We got 12, 13 tracks on here of just novelty madness. Think Dr. Demento, think Funny Bone Favorites, think
Zappa.
Yeah, Zappa, Residents, experimental, funny, goofy, whatever. We had a blast making it. proctorpimento.bandcamp.com. You can check it out. Yes, we did a cover of Manamana in our own way. We also did a cover of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in our own way. And the rest are all original tracks. Just check it out. If nothing else, hopefully it's good for a laugh.
And where can I get that from?
You can get it proctorpimento.bandcamp.com. That's probably the best place to get it.
And I'll try to remember to put a link below if you're interested in it.
Yeah. My first album in several years, so it was a blast.
So there you go. Appreciate you all watching. Leave a comment below. Myself or Randy or one of us will try to get back to you. On the bottom, we always try to answer all the comments. And appreciate you watching. That's it.
Yeah.
God bless.
Seizure.
Stay strong.